So I'm just going to start by asking you all a few questions. How often do you think about your appearance? When was the last time you dieted? Have you ever said, I need to get in shape, or I would look like so-and-so? My name is Carrie Franzen, and my capstone is Beauty, Body Image, and Breakthrough Barriers. To give you a little background on myself, I'm a double major in exercise science and dance, and I teach at the dance studio. I'm addicted to running, and I enjoy writing poetry. The faculty advisor for my project was Belle Zembrod. And as an overview, we're going to be talking about what my project was, what I created, with whom I worked, and future innovations for my project. So my project was a study of body image in young girls, and out of that I created the Body Image Wellness Program. And as a dance teacher, I've constantly noticed my girls checking themselves out in the mirror, and they complain about things that they don't like or things that they would change about their appearance. So all around us are images of beauty, or what we are to believe is beauty. So I wondered, where did these ideas come from in the first place? How do we learn what is considered beautiful? And how does this affect how we see ourselves? And how can I use these answers to create a body image wellness program for kids? Through my research, I've learned that these are very complicated questions. There are so many factors that contribute to body image. Everything from age, location, self-esteem, family, schooling, to television, and books, music, and magazines affects the beauty ideal and therefore body image. Two of my biggest issues were what age group to focus on and what gender to focus on. It seems that the older children get, the lower their body image satisfaction is. So I decided to focus on pre-adolescence and work with the prevention of a negative perception rather than intervention in teens who already had body image issues. I also decided it would be better to work with girls than boys because the two genders experience really different forms of dissatisfaction with their body. While girls are expected to be thin, boys are expected to be muscular. And also willingness and participation could be affected by a program that's unisex. For example, a girl may not be willing to share certain information or be willing to participate in a certain activity if she doesn't want to be embarrassed around boys. And then the experimental program I actually created took place at the Boys and Girls Club in Newport with 4th and 5th grade girls. There were 9 different weekly sessions, and each week had a different focus. These included pre-assessment, media literacy, self-perception, social relations, nutrition, fitness, and post-assessment. And some of the topics took place over more than 1 week in order to include more information and more activities for the girls. I can probably say that the premise for my capstone began many years ago. As a perfectionist and a dancer who must spend a lot of time in front of mirrors, I had some body image issues in high school. And eventually I overcame those, but it's probably something that I can struggle with for the rest of my life. My first true interest in the topic was sparked in an honors English class I took my freshman year of college. We read an article about Barbies and their unrealistic proportions and how that influences beauty standards and body image. I had Barbie everything when I was little, and until that point, it never dawned on me that it actually affected the way that I see beauty. The next semester, I took race, gender, and the mass media, and one of the documentaries we watched was called Barbie Culture, and it showed the history of Barbie and how she eventually became a world all of her own. So for my final project in that class, I expanded on the documentary's information and studied the influence that Barbie can have on maturing girls. From the great interest I had doing this project, I knew it's what I wanted to expand on for my capstone. So as an exercise science and dance major, the health field has obviously always interested me. And in high school, community service was a big part of my life. So I wanted my studies to improve the lives of others. My research showed me that body image has become such a huge cultural issue that I wanted to do something with it. 80% of suburban 9-year-old girls are concerned about their weight. 150,000 women get breast implants each year, and one Barbie is sold every 2 seconds. Everywhere we go, we are bombarded with images of beauty, products that will make us beautiful, and reasons why we should live up to that societal standard. Due to their changing bodies, young girls are more likely to feel out of place or different from the standard. This discomfort in their own body creates more of a desire to change it, thus leading to unhealthy actions rather than acceptance and love for whom they are and how they look. Girls have taken on the burden of not only being defined by their relationships with others, but by their appearance. In 1945, Norma and Norma were created as the supposed average size of males and females in the U.S., but unfortunately only about 1% of the people fit into this average, most weighing above it. So this picture here is an artist's depiction of what Norm and Norma were at the time according to their size. So if this small size is being marketed as the average, obviously people are going to feel that they must be unhealthy and should become thinner, when in reality they could be perfectly healthy and have a good weight or shouldn't have any problems at all. What's even worse is that the standard of beauty has only become thinner since 1945 when Norm and Norma were created. And as years go on, the women in the media are portrayed, the women that are portrayed in the media continue to get thinner and bonier. So here's an example of Marilyn Monroe, obviously, as compared to the images that we see today in the media. And oftentimes, they're even thinner than this, because you can usually see their bones, or they'll be just really muscular, or something like that. So there's a huge difference. And many wish to change the body that they don't feel comfortable in. So it was the goal of my project to create a successful body image wellness program for 4th and 5th grade girls to prevent that obsession. The process of this endeavor was much more difficult than I ever anticipated. My first big task was to get a community partner, and after meetings with different organizations, I felt that the Boys and Girls Club was the best fit for me. The research, program planning, and IRB approval sort of intertwined, so the work behind it had to go one-on-one. And I remember that the favorite part of my program was obviously, or part of my project was obviously carrying out my program. And I remember walking in the first week with no idea what to expect. The kids were running around everywhere. I didn't know where to find the director of the club. And once all of the girls of the right age group were gathered into one room, it was really hard to get them to pay attention. But the first week was mostly about getting to know everyone, and from there I could make more progress. The second week focused on pre-assessment. There were 2 written assessments, one asking questions in a yes or no answer format, and another in picture format. And I wanted to use pictures because it's typically a lot easier for kids to understand something visual rather than verbal. And in the particular assessment that I used, they had to choose which girl they thought they looked the most like and which that they wanted to look like. So this is an example of one of the girls that I worked with. So she thought that she looked like number 4, but wanted to look like number 2. So she wanted to be thinner than what she was. And then after assessment, I could work on the sole purpose of my project. Each session had a different theme. The first was media literacy. In this session, the girls learned what the media is and how it has a message intended for a specific audience. There were also activities with magazine ads, photo airbrushing, Barbies, and Disney princesses. So these pictures here are an example of one of the activities I did with them. I showed them different pre and post airbrushing. So you can see that the photographer totally changed the way this woman looked in order to make it look quote unquote better than what it was. And the girls had no idea that this kind of thing happened in the media, and like what the images that they see aren't really what things look like. And most of them thought that the original pictures looked way better than what the new ones were. Then there was a session devoted to self-perception. This week, they worked on finding their own strengths and talents and worked on staying positive. Together, we read the children's version of How Full Is Your Bucket, and each girl received her own bucket that they could fill with the positive things in her life, as you can see here. They really took their time to concentrate on every aspect of their life and every positive part of it. The next session was geared towards social relationships. They played games like the human knot and telephone, and they learned about empathy and fat talk. Then they came up with ways that they could apply these activities and learning experiences to their everyday lives. They also learned to give compliments and wrote each other why they were beautiful. So I participated in all of the activities. So for this certain one, they each got to decorate their name at the top of a paper, and they went around to everybody's paper and wrote a reason why they were beautiful to them, and it couldn't have anything to do with their appearance. It was why they were beautiful on the inside. And then they could take these home and keep them for however long they wanted to. So the 2 following sessions after that were devoted to nutrition. The girls learned about the different food groups using my pyramid. They tasted and learned about different types of milk in order to learn how to read nutrition labels. They found out that there are good fats and bad fats and how to tell the difference between them. And they did an activity about high sugar foods and drinks. Their favorite parts of these weeks was definitely making the healthy foods. We made peanut butter and fruit wraps, bagel pizzas, and fruit and yogurt parfaits. And they were completely and utterly shocked that healthy food could actually taste good. After the nutrition sessions, they learned about fitness. And as a movement activity, they created their own dance. And this was a great way to allow them to use their creativity and really see that being active doesn't have to be boring or tedious. So this is a video of the dance that they created, and they picked the song and all the moves on their own. I didn't help them. I'm in it because I did it with them. And then there was also one girl who didn't want to do the dance, so she was the person who filmed it for me, and you can hear her talking throughout the whole entire thing.
Is the red light on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hurry, it's starting. Go back a little bit more.
So clearly my project resulted in the curriculum for the Smart Girls program, which is what it became known as because that was just really easy for them to remember. And the whole project itself required an experimental paper with a literature review, an explanation of the program methods, results, and conclusion from the study. However, this project goes far beyond what is written. A lot can be taken away from my work with these girls. When looking at the pre and post assessments, it's really difficult to see much of a difference in body image satisfaction. Due to the inconsistencies of attendance at the Boys and Girls Club and the fact that only a small number of girls were involved in the study, we can't really take the quantitative results into full consideration. However, when looking at the pre and post assessment discussions, the qualitative degree of their body image satisfaction changed greatly. So during the pre-assessment discussions, I asked the girls things like, what do you think it means to be healthy? And who are your role models and why? The trend in these discussions was that they associated being healthy with being skinny, losing weight, and being on a diet. They admired a lot of famous women, especially singers, because of their clothes, style, songs, and makeup, and they just constantly would like break out in songs of like Beyonce or Lady Gaga or things like that. And they took turns sucking in their bellies also to compare each other. And when asked, what does a beautiful person look like, I heard answers that ranged from all of us to not me. They admitted to comparing themselves to their peers as well as celebrities, and most admitted to things that they wanted to change about themselves, all of which concerned their physical appearance. But by the end of the program, they associated healthy living with eating well, being active, not being lazy, and not smoking. They still seemed to admire different celebrities, but their reasons behind this was totally different from before. For example, one girl said that she really likes Selena Gomez because she isn't like other singers, and when I asked why, she told me she dresses more modestly, she exercises, and she likes to just be herself. Instead of associating successful people with appearance, they cited success as being nice and helping others. And then they told me a story about somebody who used to volunteer at the club that they considered successful because they were so helpful and so nice to everybody that was there. I think one of the most important statements made was that some people think beauty is how they look, but it's really personality. This statement alone shows how much these girls grew intellectually in 9 weeks, which leads to the significance of my project. 50% of body image issues in a population are said to be due to genetic factors, but clearly the problem goes beyond this. Society deems certain traits attractive and portrays these through several mediums, and young girls are highly susceptible to their influence. Girls as young as 5 are even beginning to show signs of body image dissatisfaction and want to wear different kinds of makeup or lose weight or whatever. There are several programs already in existence for teenagers and adults. However, there aren't programs designed for younger girls. And doesn't it make sense to prevent the issue before it becomes a bigger problem? So my project has succeeded in doing just that. And it is my honors experience that has allowed me to do so. The more areas to which my program can be spread, the more girls it can help, gradually creating brighter lives for our female youth. So in summary, from my own experiences and different classroom activities, I recognize the problem that body image dissatisfaction has quickly become. This issue is rooted in several influential factors, and the truth is, pressures that girls face will not change until cultural ideals change. But if we can't change those, then we can prevent their influence on our youth, which was my goal. And in carrying this out, I've learned a great deal about myself in addition to the girls that I worked with and my studies with it. Even if I've only helped a small number of girls, that change and their learning made my work totally worthwhile. When asked what they learned in the program, one of the girls stated that you learn to love yourself. And this is the most important success of my project. A child who loves herself for who she is has a bright future ahead of her, which creates a bright future for all of us. My hope is that I can spread this even more in the future. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? All right, are we sure? Yes.
Carrie, what do you plan to do after this?
Well, I decided that I wanted to continue working with them and make it more an ongoing program rather than just stopping, because I feel like continuing the program will have more of an impact on them. So I've still been volunteering at the Boys and Girls Club every week and working with them. And I would love for it to spread to more areas and more organizations, because it's an extremely adaptable program. Anybody can do it. And I'm going to a conference at UK in the middle of May, so hopefully there I can sort of spread it out and see where I can go from it there with it. Anybody else? All right, thank you.